Again, we're very pleased to be hosted here by Goodwill. They're a wonderful partner for Second Harvest Food Bank as with our Providence program, who has provided the food this morning. So hopefully everyone has enjoyed that. And I am now, as we get into the program, I'm very pleased to introduce our Master of Ceremonies. And what we unfortunately now say as a former Second Harvest Food Bank employee, Daisy Rodriguez, who served for 14 years as a Director of Childhood Hunger Programs and is now taking on a new adventure as the Director of Student Aid with the Winston-Salem Foundation starting in March. So while we miss Daisy, the good news is she's right down the road, and most importantly, she's here today. So Daisy, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to echo Eric's sentiments and just thank you all for being here. I know it's not exactly a beautiful sunny day, but think of it this way. It's sunny in here, and it's warm, and you've got good food and good company. So I want to thank you once again for being here. I want to go over a few housekeeping items. First of all, for those of you who are not familiar with Goodwill and the room here, the restrooms are right outside in the foyer, so you'll see them straight ahead. Also, if you'll get your cell phone and make sure you put it on, which I'm going to do right now, put it on vibrate. We understand we're all very busy and we get these emergency calls. If you do have to take a call, would you just go outside in the foyer and absolutely take your phone call, and then come back in and enjoy the rest of the summit. Also, on your table in front of you, you not only see an agenda, you will also see a sheet that tells you all about the marvelous facilitators we will have today, and they are dynamic, and I want to thank all of them for being here today. But you'll also see an orange sheet. This is a very important sheet, not that the others aren't, but this is a survey, excuse me, and contact information sheet that we really want you to fill out. This is a summit, but it's more about strategizing today and getting everyone talking about combating childhood hunger and how we can do this together. So I really would appreciate it if you fill this out, especially if you have to leave early. Just leave it on the table, or you can give it to one of the staff members here. And finally, if you haven't seen it already, are these not the cutest little lunch bags ever? I think they're adorable. I think my 3 kids are going to fight over this one. So we wanted to give you a little thank you, and do enjoy this. There is information on the stats of where we are as far as Forsyth County is concerned, but also the city initiative to combat childhood hunger. You'll hear more about that in a little bit from Regina Hall. But I just want to thank each and every one of you, because it's so important that we work together to combat childhood hunger. They're our children. This is our community and our children. So thank you for being here, and I'm going to ask Eric Aft once again to come to the podium.
Daisy, thank you. Again, we appreciate all that Daisy has done and is continuing to do for our community. Now the challenge will be is making sure to pull up the correct PowerPoint, which I did not. We have too many loaded on here, so we have to be a little creative. Well, we wanted to share a little bit of background to kind of frame and give context to the conversation today. And each of us that will speak in the next 25 minutes here will be doing that. And I just wanted to, first of all, focus on the fact that, as Daisy said, when we're talking about this is about feeding the future of our community. So this is not just important work that we have kids who are hungry today, but the fact is that this has great impact for us going forward. Now, when we think about hunger, oftentimes those that were around think about these kind of images, these stark kind of heart-grabbing images, which we do see periodically in our community. But the fact is that hunger here in Forsyth County looks more like this. It's, as folks have shared with me, it's the quiet conversations in the back hallways of homes, of apartments. It's mothers deciding to forego a meal to provide food for their child, and the difficult decisions that every day that families are making to be able to figure out how to put food on the table for their children. The fact is that the challenge is substantial when we look at 1 in 5 children in our community facing hunger, and the fact that we have almost 66,000 individuals here in Forsyth County who live in poverty. And one stat I like to look at is not just poverty, but the issue of what's it like to live off of $35,000 or less if you're in a household. And the fact that we have roughly 40% of our households in this county that are in that situation just speaks to the challenge that exists. And we have seen this map. Many of you are probably familiar with it. The little dotted areas, if you will, being food deserts of our community, mainly in the north, east, and south part of the community. But we see the challenge of food insecurity, meaning folks aren't sure where their next meal is coming from, as happening throughout Forsyth County. It's not an isolated situation, but definitely there are pockets that we are very familiar with when we talk about higher levels of poverty that are just generational in nature, that we really have to take a different look at as a community if we want to change the trajectory of where we are today. And again, we talked about this a little bit, is the fact that we know that today in school, or in a couple hours since we're on a delay, that in a lot of ways that creates even more of a challenge, is because the children who would be getting breakfast this morning may be going without, but they'll be getting that nutritious meal at lunchtime. That's fantastic. But if they didn't get a meal last night, how that it may have affected their ability to study, get homework done, we know that it affects today. It also has a great impact on health. I talked with Bob Schwartz in the back, as he's an endocrinologist, understands this very well, of the impact of poor nutrition on the issue of diabetes and the epidemic that is growing, especially among our children. And that it also influences our behavior. We know that food has an impact on how we act. I tend to eat more cookies than I need to, and then if I do too much, I crash. But if I go without, we all get upset and can concentrate less. So that impact goes throughout. It's not just an immediate situation, it's a longer term one. Now, turning a little bit more globally to the issue of hunger and food insecurity here in Forsyth County, you see a lot of the statistics. You look at affordable housing, of how many folks are spending more than 30% of their money on their housing situation, over half. The fact that we still have 13% of folks who do not have health insurance. And then down at the bottom, you can see, and this is also on the card that you have at your place, so if it's hard to read on the screen, you have it right there with you. But at the bottom, you can see the issues of food insecurity of individuals who do not qualify for FNS, Food and Nutrition Services, better known as SNAP, also often referred to as food stamps. That's a tremendous number of individuals who face that. And one thing also to note in the corner, that only 14% of those who are eligible are taking advantage of summer food feeding programs. So as we go through the day, this is a real opportunity to explore that issue even deeper. So I want to share a little bit about what Second Harvest is doing to address hunger here in Forsyth County. The map that you see up at the right corner, shows our entire service area in dark blue. Forsyth County is actually where we invest the second largest amount of food at 7.4 million pounds in the past year. You might know Guilford is actually a little bit higher than here in Forsyth. But we are very, this is our home. This is obviously a vital issue, and we're investing substantially. Now, through our partner agency network, we were able to serve just under 42,000 individuals through the programs that we support, and that our partner agencies on the ground are doing a fantastic job, many of whom are in the room today. So as together, we are really impacting a lot of lives, and these are unduplicated individuals. So take that in, almost 42,000 individuals. And we have a very robust data system that tracks that information. And even more stark is that 39% of those folks are children. that are being served through that pantry system alone. Again, we're not talking about the childhood hunger programs such as backpack and pantry, school pantries, that type of thing. These are pantries alone. But we know the great news is that there's amazing, wonderful things happening. There's outreach around food and nutrition services. We do that. Urban League does that. The city does that. The county does that. Many are on the front lines of that. Of course, our wonderful food pantry network that is on the front lines every single day. What the school system is doing both every single day of the school year as well as in the summer. We do direct distributions. We support soup kitchens, shelters, and other congregate meal programs, backpack and meal programs, and then also hot delivered meals that are happening in after-school programs, and that's expanding right now, and you'll hear more about that. Anna Woodruff from our team is here, who has helped lead that effort. And then, of course, the summer meal programs that a number of folks work on, including Second Harvest, Ezekiel, and of course the school system. So, and this is a little bit information as we were supporting and continue to do kids cafes. Some of you may be familiar with that, doing 6 different sites. These are now transitioning into the child and adult care food program. And we love the federal government that they have incredible acronyms for things like CACFP, which I know everybody will memorize right away. But all those will be transitioning into over time into these, the kids cafes will be transitioning into the CACF programs. And you might say, well, wait, 608 children served and you're only going to do 664 with CACFP. The difference is 608 was the total number served from those sites in the past year, where 664, again, just in the near term, that's a daily number. It's not apples to oranges there when you do that. And we look to expand that very rapidly into the closer to 1,000 kids, hopefully by the end of the calendar year. And then also the backpack programs that we support, 36 over 2,200 children served, as well as the summer meal program this is just Second Harvest alone with 9 sites, as well as 10 weekend meal programs, again, averaging 4,000 meals per day, something that makes a big difference. So here's a map of programs. Now, I do want to note one thing. When you look at the children's programs, one of the challenges is, like the wonderful work by Forsyth Backpack is this is fairly new for us to map this out. So it has like the home for Forsyth Backpack, but not all the programs, all the locations where it's assisting. So this is underrepresenting the children's programs, and we're working to address that. But what I like to see in this, or what it points out, I don't like it, is the holes. And where we have actually a concentration of programs, which is something we need to look at, and then also the holes, why, especially as we overlay it with the issues of poverty and food insecurity in our community. So where does this all take us? When we think about today, you live and are seeking every day to address the issue and the story of hunger and food insecurity. You understand the immediate need, and that's often what people latch onto. But we also know that the long-term impact of childhood hunger is substantial. And that's a story we need to continue to tell more powerfully. But what's awesome about today is what the opportunity provides us. This is not a summit to have all the answers. This is a summit to take us to the next step, to build towards greater impact in our community and what we can do together. So we're asking people, as we look forward, is to do deeper evaluation of our own work and reflections on where are the gaps? How is what we're doing making a real difference? Good evaluation. We want to look at replicating what works and stopping what doesn't, one of the hardest things to do. We're here today, all committed to the same purpose, so looking forward to how we can collaborate more is key. I hope that we'll be very ambitious with the vision that we will lay out together and co-create. Look at entrepreneurial, innovative opportunities. Look at both programmatic and systems issues. Because we won't program our way out of this challenge, is we have to look at the deeper reason that we are facing childhood hunger today. And lastly, I just want us to believe in what is possible. And that is the fact that childhood hunger should be a thing of the past. And I firmly believe that working together, that we will get there. It's not a question, well, can we? Yes, we can. And it's not a question of will we, it's when will we? And the answer needs to be sooner than later. But let's build together a more realistic approach and a creative, innovative way to get there. And I look forward to doing that with you today and as we move ahead. So thank you for being here. It is my great pleasure to introduce Regina Hall, who Regina is. Oh, she's right back. She's making a grand entrance. Regina has been a fantastic partner. She is the lead for the Think Orange campaign with the city of Winston-Salem. And before I exit the podium, I will try to get to her presentation.
Oh, I don't have one.
She doesn't have one, so I did it.
See,
I
you
was
did.
successful in doing that. All right, thank you, Regina.
Thank you so much, Eric. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Well, that was good, a little bit. Good morning. Good morning. That was good. Just want to echo everybody's words and just thank everyone so much for coming out on such a sunshiny day outside. Insert laughter from crowd. In August of 2018, Winston-Salem became one of 6 cities to be awarded a $115,500 grant from the National League of Cities. The grant was to implement a citywide campaign to address issues of hunger in Winston-Salem. And we decided to name it the Think Orange campaign. And you may be asking, why Think Orange? Orange has become the symbolic color in the fight against hunger and food insecurity. And we thought that just incorporating this eye-catching color into the name of our campaign would further our goal of raising awareness of this issue. This campaign brings together a wide variety of organizations, including government agencies, nonprofits, as well as the faith community. They include the Winston-Salem school system, Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system, and we are happy to have Lauren Richards here and Deborah Stewart. Raise your hand. We'll be hearing a little bit more from Lauren. Yeah, give them a slight round of applause. Thank you for being here, as well as the Winston-Salem Urban League, Second Harvest Food Bank, woohoo! The Cobblestone Farmers Market, not sure if Ariana was able to step in yet. Hope of Winston-Salem, we have Scott Best, their executive director there. Thank you for being here, Scott. Ezekiel AME Zion Church, Miss Rosemary Stimpson is on her way. And members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, we are pleased to have Joshua, Portia, Mark, and Giovanni here with us today over in the corner. Thank you. And they are sitting beside Tiffany Turner there, which is our senior community educator for the Think Orange campaign. She does a wonderful job. So together, we are working to pursue a variety of initiatives that address various aspects of the issue, and that's ranging from child nutrition programs to food assistance for seniors. We asked you to come today because one of the issues we are dealing with is awareness of this issue, and we want to hear your forward-thinking solutions to help combat hunger in Winston-Salem. So as you are here today and you're meeting people and you're thinking of these solutions and you're listening to all of the great information in the breakout sessions, I just want to put in a quick social plug for you. Those cell phones that Daisy reminded us to put on vibrate, if you could keep them handy and make sure that you from time to time throughout the day do tag us on your social media sites. And so you can do hashtag feeding community, hashtag feeding community, hashtag cities combating hunger, combating with one T. And or you could use hashtag ThinkOrangeWS. ThinkOrangeWS. And we'll be doing friendly reminders throughout the day, but just wanted to put that out there. So last but not least, enjoy today. Enjoy all of the breakout sessions. And remember to think orange and think forward. Thank you so much again. And at this point in time, I have the very distinct honor of introducing Ms. Lauren Richards. Lauren is the Director of Child Nutrition Services with the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System. Please give her a hand.
Thank you, Regina. Well, good morning. Everyone's commented on the weather, and you can probably hear that I'm a little under the weather too. But anytime we're talking about hunger and all of these community members come together to talk about this challenge, it's always a sunny day. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip through some of my slides so that we can get on to these amazing breakout sessions. But I want to take a few moments to just speak with you about the state of schools. One of the breakout sessions today is thinking on how we get students to eat in schools. And so this slide shows you a snapshot of the number of students in our district and the number of students that are eating at school daily. We do offer breakfast and lunch every day, even on days where there's 2-hour delays. But I want you to think about, how do students get food when there isn't school? We're also expanding our programs for supper and after-school snack. That's 4 different opportunities during the day that children have access in our schools for food. And we're really trying to seek ways to get the word out there, to offer innovative solutions. So I'd love to hear some ideas from you all today on those things. And one of the things I wanted to skip ahead on is this slide right here. And so if you look at this slide, you'll see 3 different bars for about 5 different schools. That first bar that you see, that is the percentage of free students in those specific schools. The next bar that you'll see is a bar indicating the percentage of those free students that are eating breakfast at school. The third bar for each of those schools is the number of free status students that are eating lunch at school. And so what I did, I showed you here a snapshot. These are not the lowest participating schools, but they are the lowest percentage of breakfast eating at those schools. And that's one of those challenges. I challenge you to think about adult behavior and how that impacts student access in schools. What does that look like? We talk about that quite often, and I'm curious to hear some of that from you all today. But you can see that there's a big gap. Some of these schools are very different. You look at downtown, the percentage of students eating breakfast is actually higher than lunch. And so maybe lunch is being packed from home, but they're taking advantage of breakfast. And overall, we'd like to see all of these numbers go up because we know that these students are food insecure. And so how do we combat that today? Excuse me. We're looking at innovative breakfast concepts in our schools. How do we get breakfast into the hands of those students? In high school levels, where are the students congregating? In elementary schools, how do we get breakfast into the classroom? Summer meals, we're expanding efforts there. We've taken summer meals on the road this past year, and we'll be doing that again this year and expanding those efforts, looking for some of those pockets that Eric talked about where there's food deserts. How do we get food in those locations because we know those students need it? 28,000 lunches a day, 180 days a year, and then we hit summer months and all of those students don't come to school. So where are they getting their food from? Second Harvest, other places. We all need to work together and expand those efforts and spread that love and that care. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today so we can kind of stay on track. I don't know who I'm turning it back over to. Wanda maybe is next?
We're going to see a video.
A video,
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Wanda Stark. The headlines suggest the economy has recovered, recession over, job growth returns, triad unemployment drops to 5.1%. But in reality, hundreds of thousands of families in our area are still struggling to get by. These are the real-life headlines. North Carolina, national leader in child hunger. Triad, #1 in food insecurity. Winston-Salem, #1 in percentage of households with hungry children. #1 in the country? How is that possible? We'll answer that question tonight. We'll also introduce you to parents trying to care for their families, young people who know what it's like to be hungry, and people in our community working hard to make a difference. Childhood hunger, the silent crisis, begins tonight with the story of a single mom named Mina Gore. It's mid-afternoon, halfway through the week. Mina Gore's transmission has given up, left her shifting through yet another crisis. Gore's 18-month-old daughter, Diane, is always in tow. Daycare is not an affordable option.
Are you ready to go to work? You ready, aren't you?
Gore has been a hairstylist for 20 years. She loves the job, but work is hard to find. A few years ago, she was at a salon in the mall, accepting 8 to 10 clients a day. When the recession came, the shop went out of business.
So how's those tests going? Good. That doesn't sound like much enthusiasm.
This is her first customer today, only the third this week.
When I first got into it, it made a lot of money. But now with a lot of wigs and the change in the economy, people can't afford services such as this. This is a luxury, you know. They'll do it themselves first. They might not do a good job, but they'll try.
She laughs through a lot of pain. This lupus survivor not only lost a job with benefits, but the house she bought and lived in for 4 years. Today, she struggles to pay the rent at work and home.
It's stressful. It's hectic. It keeps me up at night because I'm worried about making ends meet, being able to pay the bills, provide, feed the children.
Gore has 2 sons. One of them, a 20-year-old, still lives with her.
That's Mom and the baby there.
Oh, I like that. That's precious. Gore says she gets help from her mother when there's no money to buy food. She says she always buys the baby's food first and separate from hers, and that Diane has never gone hungry. But she has.
Often I don't have food for me. I eat day to day. I buy my food day to day. And at one time I was having so many break-ins. People was breaking in, stealing my food. Yeah. I didn't have no food at home. And when I didn't work, my motto used to be, if I don't work, I don't eat. I was serious about that because if I didn't make any money that day, that means I wasn't going to eat. Hey, go back.
Gore says she's tried but failed to collect child support for Diane, but she is determined to do all she can to help her daughter succeed in life. And she wants people to know hunger is a big problem, even if you don't see it.
When you're sitting in an office somewhere and you're looking on the outside, even this segment, it's just a brief segment, you're not going to see what's really, and you really don't feel, the pain. Like hunger is pain, it hurts, you know, and when you can't feed your kids, it hurts the worst because they look up to you. You're all that they have.
Mina Gore's story is heartbreaking, but sadly not uncommon. The Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina is the leading hunger relief organization for 18 counties. It serves a network of more than 400 partner food assistance programs. Since 2008, the number of people seeking help from the organization has continued to climb from 130,000 to over 300,000 this year.
People who previously had jobs and could take care of themselves and their families with food, with a roof over their head, have lost those jobs through no fault of their own. The majority of the people that we're serving do have a job. Some have more than one. The problem is that about 60% of those jobs are part-time positions.
People like Anna Swager, a single mom, know what it means to be underemployed. The fast food worker says she sometimes takes home as little as $600 a month. Her rent alone is $780. When she's not at work or at home with her daughter, she's out protesting for higher wages or looking for a second job.
It's very difficult because I have to do this balance between, do I buy food or do I buy her the clothes she needs? The most painful thing I have to tell her, even grocery shopping, is no, I'm sorry, we can't get that. I don't have the money.
How often does that happen?
Almost every time we go to the store.
So it gets to the point where you probably hate to go to the store.
Yeah, because even like if we just go to like the dollar store and she wants a small snack, even then I have to tell her that I can't afford it. And it gets rough.
Anna Swager says she couldn't make it without help from family, her boyfriend, and local food banks. When we come back, we'll take you to a small church doing big things to feed the community. And we'll introduce you to a man who lost his job but not his faith, and now encourages others through his work with Second Harvest Food Bank. But first, if you don't know any hungry children, ask some kids. Chances are they do.
Their parents are awfully working a lot, and they ask their neighbors for food, and some of the times their neighbors aren't home either, so they just have to wait till their parents come home, and that's often about 2 or 3 days.
Wow. How many of you saw that series when it first came out in 2015? So you remember that things were pretty bad in our community. And it's not to say that it's not still bad, it's not as bad, and I'm going to tell you where we are at this time. But first, I want to thank Wanda Stark and WXII for permitting us to view that video once again. And also, I want to honor Clyde Fitzgerald's memory, because he actually was in the forefront as far as childhood hunger was concerned, just combating hunger. And he would always say, you know, we are part of that solution to combat hunger. So I'd like to honor his memory. So with that said, where are we? Well, the most recent Map the Meal Gap report from Feeding America shows us that 1 in 7 Northwest North Carolinians cannot afford adequate food for themselves and their families. The situation is worse for our children. Nearly 22% of children residing in Forsyth County live with the uncertainty over whether they will have enough to eat. Now, I don't know about you, but some people here know me, and if I don't have enough to eat, I get hangry. I can't imagine children being hungry and not being able to access food. So we really have to think about that as a community. And you saw some of the stats earlier. Eric showed you some of the stats. So that's more than 1 in every one of our children. Although we have seen some improvements over the past few years, these are still sobering numbers and reinforce the critical importance of Second Harvest work and all of the agencies that are collaborating to feed hungry people, especially our children. City of Winston-Salem, Parks and Rec. We want to provide delicious, nutritious hot meals for children in low-income neighborhoods. So 62% of children attending our public schools in Forsyth live in households with incomes low enough to qualify them to receive free or reduced price meals at school. But one of the main concerns, and you will hear more about summer feeding from Cynthia Irving, is that only 15%, can you imagine this? 15% of those children are accessing summer meals and that are intended to help these children stay healthy and well through the long months that school is out for summer. So children are going hungry. Our state consistently ranks among the top 10 worst for the percentage of children who are food insecure. This fact and of the data that we are highlighting underscores the continuing impact of poverty and a financial recovery dominated by low-wage jobs in the lives of local families. So what do we know? Every child should have enough to eat. Isn't that why we're here? Every meal, every day. The research is clear. When a child goes without adequate essential nutrition, it can lead to a lifetime of learning and developmental challenges. So we're all here because we're like minded. We need to connect our learnings, efforts, and resources to ensure that our children have the healthy food they need as a vital foundation for learning, good health, and success in life. With that said, I'd like to introduce now our keynote speaker, Cynthia D. Irvin. She received her Bachelor of Science in Food Nutrition and Institutional Manager at East Carolina University and received a Master of Business Administration with a healthcare focus from the University of Phoenix. She completed the dietetic internship at Meredith College prior to becoming a registered dietitian. She was a food service director for Our Mark Services at various healthcare settings such as hospitals and continuing care retirement communities for over 21 years. Cynthia has been providing leadership for the North Carolina Summer Nutrition Programs at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and CDPI, we love our acronyms, for nearly 14 years. She credits the summer nutrition programs for helping her realize her true passion, and believe me, she is passionate, and job fulfillment, ensuring no child in North Carolina is without a necessity, nutritious meals. She has continued to expand the programs to nearly every county in North Carolina. North Carolina is a state of plenty, and there are great organizations willing to help, and there is enough food for all children. The challenge is how to get the good nutrition to children, especially during the summer months. She looks forward to working with you, all of you, to be part of the Summer Childhood Hunger Solution. It is my honor to ask Cynthia Irvin to please come to the podium. She is a dear friend, and I have enjoyed working with her for 10 years. Cynthia?
Thank you all. Thank you all. This is a beautiful group to be, and I'm so sorry I didn't bring my mascot, the sun, today. Wouldn't that have been so appropriate to have that? I am going to talk a lot about a little bit of data. What I want you all to take away from this today is, while we might all have data just a little bit different, I think you will see that we're all saying the same thing, that there is a serious need and there's a serious problem, and we can be the solution to that problem. So I'm just going to skip through some of my slides because I think we've covered that many times. So pretty much just to make sure you understand the objective of the summer nutrition programs. First of all, during the school year, we take care of the kids at breakfast, at lunch, and the after-school snack. We give them a supper before they go home. Oh, I need to stand close to this. I'm sorry. I just love moving around. I'm sorry. I got to stay where I need to stay. So we give them all those great meals during the school year. We even cover them with backpacks when they go home on the weekend. Then the summer comes. And they're not that captive audience in the schools anymore. It's like Lauren said, where are they and how is that meal being covered? So, data says that parents now have to figure out how to come up with $300 more per child to feed them. If they haven't had it during the school year, they absolutely do not have it during 3 months during the summer, right? So, this is what this great program, and this is what I credit our funder, USDA, for having this great vision for covering food insecurity from during conception all the way to adulthood. And so we got it in WIC for when the kids are in conception through the early childhood. Then we go to school, then during the summer we'll cover, and then on up to adult daycare. So great job, USDA. Now the thing is we as organizations just need to rally around and bring those fundings into our communities to actually benefit to our children. So I'm going to skip a few of these slides because I think we've already said it. And this data looks a little different than maybe what you've heard, but based on our data, and we actually have a calculation that we do our data. And when we looked at the 2018 data as a state, we only accessed, or based on when we compare the number of eligible children across our state to how many actually got meals in our program, we came up that it was about 12%. So think about, this is 100%. Now you got to kind of think through that. Lauren says in school some of them are not accessing it, so it may not be exactly the same picture. Mine is based on 100% of those needy children. So, but just to give you an idea of what we look like as a state, when we look at all of our summer nutrition programs, we had 166 sponsors. We served at almost 3,000 meal sites. But the great news is we served almost 5 million meals across our state last summer. And that is amazing. And our goal is to really surpass that this coming summer. And you all heard about all the impacts of hunger, and Eric really covered that very well. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about where we have our state. And this is our profile. We actually have developed county profiles. And in our county profiles, we took each county and we took a really look at it. And we actually have some books over here later on if you want to come look at it. We had 7 sponsors in the area. They had 88 sites. And then just as a whole, the great news is, as a state, we only served 12%, but in Forsyth County, you did almost 13%. So you are definitely serving ahead of where we are for the state. I think the one thing that I want you to really look at is that little pie chart. This is what really is just mind-boggling. So the summer nutrition programs are really appropriated funds. So they are only appropriated to each state and each county based on the need. So it's based on the need. So how many children you have in your county that are eligible, that's how much money is appropriated. So the little bitty dark pie piece shows how much funding was accessed to feed your children. The bigger part of the pie is how much was not accessed. So think about your local economy and what that could do if you could bring in those federal funds to spend locally within your county to buy food to benefit the children of Forsyth County. Major. You could just make some major impacts. So just think about that a little bit, because that's what this is all about. How do we figure out a way to bring those funding, the federal funding, your tax dollars, in to benefit the children of your communities? So this is just a quick overview of all the great organizations you have working in your county. We have Ezekiel, and then we have on campus, we have campus kitchens at Wake Forest and Winston-Salem State, and we have a Forsyth Academy. We have also the Second Harvest Food Bank, and we have Winston-Salem Forsyth School, and we have St. Peter's. They're all working to do great work. This is just a quick map that just shows you where we look like with all of our open sites. If you all are not familiar with what open sites are, it's exactly what they are, what the meaning says. It's open to all the children in the community. It's not just for a specific group of children. And these are the ones that actually provides the greatest access. So I wanted to just, again, really point you all to these great resources that are excellent talking points for any stakeholder, and they are available to you. And if you have your smartphone right now, you could actually go right here that QRC code will take you right to the website. You can pull up your county profile and the county ranking. And I would say use these to talk to any stakeholders about the need and where you can actually go to actually provide more. It actually gives you everything you need. It gives you basically the general overview of the program, where you look like for Forsyth County. It actually talks about the number of meals you serve. And then it, of course, they have that nice pie chart that you could really give someone a heartburn thinking about not all the fun that we're bringing in. So that is just a quick overview of where we are with the summer nutrition programs, and I'm happy to talk with you all later about anything else about this program.
Thank you, Cynthia. And if you're interested in hearing more, Cynthia has some information in the front, and she came here with her colleague, McCamey Holloway. So raise your hand, McCamey. Everybody can see you. Thank you so much for what you do. It is incredible work. I've had the pleasure of working with them for 10 years. I know others in this room have as well. Please, just remember, you saw that pie plate? I don't want to not use money that is allocated for our children to eat and just let it sit there, returns to the federal government. We just don't want to do that. So just remember that if you can't do it, maybe your church can. Any not-for-profit, am I correct? Can be a summer food service, either site or sponsor. So keep that in mind as well. Now we've got, and I'm a stickler for keeping on time, so let's thank Cynthia once again for the presentation.